Wow, nice to see all of you here today. I've thought about how I approach this topic and how I actually engage in conversation with you around this. My challenge is, we know, you just take the latest FinScope study of 2021, 42% of South Africans have funeral insurance, which skews the picture a little bit, but largely about 10% of the employed population in this country have got life insurance. Another 9% has got car insurance, and even less have got health insurance. What about 8%? I can talk about that. We know that. I don't think our problem in South Africa is around affordability of insurance. 1,000 Rand average premium for life cover, 500 for funeral, 1,500 for car insurance, maybe even less depending on what assets you insure. So the challenge is around what you put in and what you get out, right? And if I just think about what we've paid out if you just look at how much, the amount of money we've paid out in claims over this period, and if you think, and I want to make this example, if the industry paid out just 200 claims in a week, which is probably most insurers pay about 200, 300 claims a week. If you take life cover, that's 200 families that have actually got close to R1 million. Because, no one takes a life cover for under R1 million these days. Even credit life cover is over R1 million. Effectively, what you've done is you've put people into a position so much better than where they were before. So for a premium of 1,000 Rand a month, it is probably the best investment you can make. So I want to talk a little bit about the capacity in the market. I'll go through it. I'll start off with the doom and gloom. And I'm a firm believer in this country. I believe in this country. I'm from this country. I've lived here all my life. And I believe in this country. So I want to talk about opportunities in this country around the market capacity. We know that there is a need for insurance in this country. And I still believe it's worth it. Okay, so let's start with the doom and gloom. We've seen this. Massive people go through. There's two ways in which people respond in this country. It's flight or fight. Okay, and if you're by the means, and even if you're not by the means, your first thought would be flight. We've seen how many people have left this country. That's just over the period from 2015 to 2020. You can see it's gone up significantly, a 16% increase of people leaving this country. And you can see where they're going to, the UK, Australia. But you just go on. And I'll talk a little bit later about where the wealthy people are going as well. I think there's where opportunities lie for us as an industry. Corruption and fear, it just goes on and on. Is the country working? Have we lost confidence in leadership and stability of this country? Strike after strike. Effectively, what you see is media messages that are just hitting you every day. And it just keeps coming, okay? This is just interesting. This is New Zealand. And my brother-in-law actually works as an immigration attorney in Australia. And I just want to make this point here that between Jan and May of this year, over 11,300 South Africans got citizenship in New Zealand. Remember, you can get citizenship there up until the age of 55. Australia is 45. So even if you're under the age of 55, you can still get citizenship there. In 2021, only 8,400, for that whole year, only 8,400 people. So there is definitely a lot of people leaving this country, okay? And remember, this is the doom and the gloom. Our friends at BankServe who regularly track take-home pay, real basic take-home pay is down, okay? And it's sitting at around about 14,300 Rand on average. That's a household take-home. We know how our averages works in this country. The average skews because we've got this high Gini coefficient. Few people earning a lot of money. You get a very funny average. That's actually a funny average in my world. I think the average is far less than that. But interestingly enough, there are more people taking salaries. And so I want to talk a little bit about our TransUnion. We use credit scoring in our underwriting today. But you can see it's immediately, the people are starting to run to credit. They are under pressure. Financially, they're under pressure. And it's a strange thing because if you see this picture, and then I'll show you another picture later on, you get a different view, okay? So people are under pressure, household debt is increasing, and the international outlook, and this is maybe a glimmer of hope here, international outlook is also bad. It's not that fantastic. It's not that we alone. Others are in it as well. I mean, we see what's happening with inflation in the UK. I mean, also sitting at 7% inflation rate. I mean, so we're not alone in this. So maybe there is some glimmer of hope. So if you leave, what you're going to get on the other side? Do you know? And that's the question. This is the SA Economic Outlook, and we use IHS, it's treasuries, which is even lower, but I mean, it's sitting at about 2.1%. They're projecting 2%, 1.2% for next year. It's marginal. But the economy doesn't stand still at any given point in time. It keeps moving, right? Things are happening in this country. I just made this interesting comment around the fact that, I mean, you've got here floods, you've got power shortages, you've got corruption, you've got rate hikes, it's just out of control. But we are a resilient nation, right? We are fighters. We're not going to take this lying down. We're starting to rise up and say, but guys, this is not working, right? Unemployment rate is going through the roof, but it's a bit kind of a funny one. It's all about perspective, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about hope and optimism. And remember, I'm focusing on the capacity rather than the affordability, because I want to demonstrate there's opportunities here, opportunities that you cannot ignore. I'm definitely one of the people that's fighting. I'm not taking this lying down, okay? I'm not going to pay 60 million rand for a flag. No way, okay? I'm not going to do it. I'm also not donating 50 million rand to Cuba. I'm not going to allow it, okay? So citizens of South Africa start to take control. Active citizenry is what we need in this country, and it's starting to happen. Fuel levies, pushbacks, okay? National orchestra projects. I mean, what is that? How is that helping South Africans? And particularly you as small business owners, because that's what you are, you're entrepreneurs. So, contextualizing the growth, I want to talk a little bit about this. If you just look there, the blue bar is the 2022 quarter one. The yellow is the quarter 4, 2021. Sorry, so it's 2022, first quarter, 2021, last quarter. And you can see what's happening there. Okay, so the blue is what's happening. So certain industries, I mean, we know government is back to employing people again. I mean, you can immediately see that. The challenge is that the industries that are actually growing in this country are not industries that are employing people. It's a problem, right? So you want to get industries growing that employ people. Industries like construction, industries like agriculture, right, manufacturing. But what's happened over time is those industries, because of massive union challenges, have moved towards technology. So what's happening in this country? Okay, so this is an important one. If you are a graduate in this country, graduate unemployment is only sitting at 12%. If you take youth unemployment as a whole, South Africa, it's 74%. Okay? But if you just take total unemployment, it's sitting at 34%, 35%, right? So if you're a graduate in this country, and that's why fees must fall has come about, right? My challenge is, of course, what they're studying. Linguistics. How is linguistics going to change this South Africa? Okay? What happened to the artisan schools? You call it a plumber today or electrician. He charges you the same as a doctor. What's the problem with artisan skills? Nowhere. We chase them away. We chase them to Australia, where a plumber is the most sought after bachelor in that country. Okay. So my issue is around the fact that we active citizens need to start standing up and saying, and giving equal credence to someone who's an artisan as someone who's come out of a university. I am dumbstruck that people are clamoring to study linguistics. Okay? It's not what's going to shift the dial for us. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But largely, if you're a graduate in this country, if you wanted to target people who's going to earn a lot of money over the future, who's going to be employed, bear in mind that your client base or your target market has to include graduates. And I'll talk a little bit about some other things around graduates that you need to think about. Skills, this is the main thing. Almost every sector has gone on skills. Skills bias is critical. I mean, if you just look from 1995, it's a bit old, 1995 to 2018, 2015, you can see there's been if you are skilled, the odds are highly likely you will actually be employed, right? If you are unskilled, and I'm talking skill in the broader term of it, okay? That's why everyone wants to get educated. Everyone's looking to reinvest in themselves. By the way, that's a product that's needed in this industry. How do I reinvest in myself? Okay? But anyway, most employers do that for you. But I mean, so the net results is that skilled positions in this country, and I'll talk a little bit about this, then don't shoot the messenger, they are actually being overpaid. And this is the work we did with our colleagues at UCT. So if you are skilled in this country, you'll see your salary will go up higher than someone who's unskilled. So the skilled pool is getting smaller and smaller. It's not growing enough. And government is not addressing it through education. So the skills that you're being taught at school is not, I mean, who got taught entrepreneurial skills? Any of you were taught entrepreneurial skills at school? It's not. You were taught geography and history. I mean, yet in America was built on entrepreneurs. South Africa needs to be built on entrepreneurs. Corporates are never going to be able to employ people as well as, I mean, the employment is created from businesses, small businesses, business owners like yourself. Okay. So earnings is growing faster than jobs, opportunity. That's why when you talk about there's no money, I go, but there is money. Earnings is growing, but the problem is the have-nots is far more than the haves. So the haves have to support the have-nots. So children are living longer in households. In fact, they don't want to leave. The household is becoming bigger. Suddenly you have to take in your parents. They can't sustain themselves any longer. So even though you're earning more, your money needs to go so much further to help others. Okay? So there's a dilemma. Yet if you die, imagine you're not there. What that does to that family. Okay? So there's a dual economy happening in South Africa. And this is some work we did with our friends from UCT. If you're looking at people earning the households, just over 40,000 rand, there's only about 3 million people. And if you're just looking at between 22 and 40, it's about 7 million. So it's about 10 million people in this country that we're all trying to get a slice of the pie from. And we're fighting telcos for airtime. We're fighting rates and taxes. We're fighting cell phone costs. We're fighting, I mean, it's just, I mean, so what's happening at the moment is the household balance sheet is under pressure. Your job, more than ever, is to help them find a way through that. More than ever. Balancing the household balance sheet is a critical skill that's not taught at school. It's your job now. And there's so few of you. For 10 million people. You're never going to reach them. So education and advice is absolutely the basis of getting someone from poverty or losing everything to actually being self-sustainable. Your role is so far more critical than you ever realize. Okay? So the tax burden is increasingly becoming on the middle and affluent. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. I'll show you more detail. But what's happening is the guys that are earning more at the top are growing, and they're earning more money, so they're being taxed. Then there's a whole lot of people that are actually not coming into the tax base. There's not enough coming into the tax base. So what's happening? The older guys are being taxed. So we have a situation where our tax base is old. All the old people are paying tax in this country. The young people are not paying tax because they can't get employed. What about starting their own businesses? Isn't that also employment? Anyway, let me not digress. I'm getting excited. So, this is the other thing. Guys, if you have not understood the world, let me just give you an example. 60,000 girls, more girls matriculated last year than boys. I don't know what's going on with the guys. Something's happening there. We seem to have lost our way, guys. But I think it's the opportunity around that. Okay? Women outnumber men at universities. It's a fact. You can go and see. In fact, we argue that in the next few years, there will be more female doctors and female lawyers in this country than there are males. You just go and look at the interns at any law firm. Go to any hospital and see who's actually the interns that are working there. It's far more female. So the reality is, if you don't understand that this is what's happening in this country, you have a problem. So in your business, do you have enough females to speak to females, to understand their world and bring in that conversation into how we provide advice? 42% of the females in this country that are employed are single mothers. Single mothers. By the way, they're also the biggest purchasers of SUVs in this country, just as a side note. And it's a fact. If you go and buy, where do you think SUV sales come from? Males buy power, speed, family, SUV, right? So anyway, that's just an aside. So we track a lot of things. I just want to talk a little bit about the high net worth people in this country. You know, this is an important one. So remember, I spoke a little bit about the fact that we have, I've got to move. We've got a lot of people that are actually coming in into the tax base, but there's less people coming in at the lower end of the tax base, but there's people at the top of the tax base that is actually growing. So what we have is a number of high-earning taxpayers is growing, because you move up, right? So they're being paid more and more and more. So the guys who are earning salaries are being paid more and more and more. So we've added 270,000. I don't want to get, this is the number for me. We know there's 36,000 dollar millionaires in this country. That's what's the dollar worth now? 18 rand. So it's about 18 million rand. We know there's about 36,000 of them floating here, maybe a few of them amongst the audience here. But last year, just on tax numbers, just as tax numbers, 60 million new millionaires. I mean, it's a fact, right? So if you just look there from registered individuals and what they were earning, 1,500 plus monthly income, taxable bracket, you can just see they moved over. So there are people earning more money in this country. If you're employed, you are earning more money. That means opportunity for you to actually talk to people about what they do with that money. Yes, we know that they're supporting others, but what about looking after themselves? So active businesses, this is you. You're part of active businesses. We spoke to COVID, but I mean 3 million active businesses registered in this country. Let's not talk about the illicit businesses. By the way, I mean, I try to understand how all the taxi vehicles are financed in this country. And I'd like to maybe hear from anyone if they could tell me how those taxis are financed. Because remember, taxi driver, formal employment, how is he funded? I'd be keen to understand how those taxis are funded. Anyway, so we're back to, registered business on the right-hand side, the thing at the bottom, 385,181 new businesses registered during COVID. Opportunity. The lights are going on. I don't have to work for someone. I can have a side hustle. I can start a business. I can either be unemployed or I can start a business, or I can start a side hustle and earn more money. And in fact, more and more employed people are helping the family members to start businesses. Okay? Opportunity. I'm not going to go in this. We know these guys are living a different lifestyle, but there's a lot of them. 36,000 of them. And their wealth is growing. Okay? Private jet travel. You just know, you never hear of it. But it is there. Okay? Oh, my time is up. Okay. So, in a nutshell, lots of things happening out there. Lots of pressure on families. Lots of pain in the families at the moment. Your job, more than ever. 10 million people. If you tell me there's not opportunity, there is around advice. And maybe I might be a little bit naughty and argue that you're still being paid on a product not an advice. But anyway, it's a conversation for another day. What if we were to change that world and I were to pay you for the change that you're making in society? Thanks.